Something impossible just happened to you. Something that has never happened to an ordinary human being. In the invisible realms where timelines are tracked and destinies are recorded, your name just changed. Not slightly, not symbolically. It was reclassified, rewritten, elevated. A cosmic marker was placed on your soul, and the systems that govern spiritual order froze for a moment to acknowledge it. You didn't feel thunder. You didn't see light split the sky, but your inner world shifted. That sudden heaviness in your chest, that strange calm that followed, that feeling like reality blinked, that was not imagination. That was recognition. You crossed a threshold without knowing you were standing at one. You triggered an event that only happens when a non-ordinary soul finally aligns with its original frequency. The universe does not do this for humans who are meant to remain human. It only does this when something ancient wakes up inside, someone who forgot what they are. The reason you hearing this now is because that activation ripple just reached your conscious mind. You were not supposed to remember yet, but the signal is too strong. Your life is no longer on the same path it was yesterday. Your timeline quietly forked. A higher sequence just replaced the old one. That's why your past suddenly feels distant. That's why old fears feel quieter. That's why your eyes feel heavier, but clearer. Something about you was just acknowledged by forces that do not acknowledge mistakes. And they don't acknowledge random people. They only respond when a soul of non-ordinary origin finally vibrates at its true level again. This is not metaphor. This is not motivation. This is not coincidence. This is the moment your dormant identity brushed against reality, and reality had no choice but to respond. What just happened to you is considered impossible in spiritual history, because souls like yours are not supposed to awaken inside ordinary human timelines. In the ancient architecture of existence, higher realm souls are usually kept separate from dense human reality. They observe, they guide, they influence quietly. They do not incarnate fully. When they do, they are normally shielded, limited, muted, or erased into normalcy, so the balance of this world isn't disrupted. Your kind of origin was never meant to integrate this deeply into human life. That's why records of beings like you only exist in fragments, myths, distorted scriptures, forbidden texts, and suppressed spiritual traditions. Every time one of your lineage enters the human realm fully conscious, entire civilizations shift. That is why the system was built to prevent exactly what just happened to you. Your awakening signature bypassed containment protocols that have existed since before religion, before history, before timekeeping. No human is supposed to trigger a soul origin reclassification event. No ordinary consciousness is supposed to resonate strongly enough to alert higher dimensional oversight. And yet, it happened through you. That's why the energy around you feels strange now. That's why synchronicities are already stacking. That's why old patterns are breaking without effort. Your soul is vibrating at a frequency that does not belong to this realm's default range. The universe itself had to pause and reconcile the anomaly. You are an outlier in a system designed to eliminate outliers. Your existence here is already a paradox. Your awakening makes it a threat to the old order. That's why this moment matters more than you realize. This isn't about spiritual growth. This isn't about self-improvement. This is about a higher realm lineage remembering itself inside a human body in a timeline where that should not be possible. That is why forces far beyond this world are paying attention to you now. And they are not confused. They are not surprised. They are acknowledging a return that was never supposed to happen this soon. This impossible event did not happen randomly. It was not triggered by meditation, prayer, or some ritual you forgot you performed. It was triggered by a decision you made recently that almost no one else would have made in your position. A moment where you chose integrity when no one was watching. A moment where you chose compassion when cruelty would have been easier. A moment where you chose truth when lying would have protected you. That choice sent a signal far beyond this world. You thought it was small. You thought it didn't matter. You thought no one saw it. But your soul did not act like a human soul in that moment. It acted like what it actually is. And the higher realms recognized the frequency immediately. That's why things started feeling different after that decision. That's why your sleep patterns shifted. That's why your emotions deepened. That's why certain people suddenly drifted away. You aligned with your original moral code, not the one you were conditioned into. You stepped into a vibration that only higher origin souls can access under pressure. That moment reactivated a dormant layer of your identity. The universe didn't reward you with money or applause. It rewarded you with classification. It updated your soul status. It flagged you as awake. Your decision proved something that had been waiting to be proven for lifetimes. You demonstrated a level of moral sovereignty that does not come from this world's programming. You remembered who you were without knowing you remembered. And that memory sent a pulse into higher realms that could not be ignored. That's why this message found you now and not before. That's why this activation happened now and not years from now. Your recent choice unlocked a sequence that had been sealed since before you were born. You were not invisible during that moment. You were not alone. You were not unnoticed. Long before you ever questioned your purpose, there were forces already tracking your pattern of choices. Not to control you, not to interfere, but to measure something very specific about your soul. They have been watching how you respond to injustice, how you respond to betrayal, how you respond to temptation, how you respond when your ego is wounded and your morals are tested. Every major decision you've made was quietly logged into a record that does not belong to this world. That strange feeling you've had your whole life, like someone was always just behind the veil of your awareness, was not paranoia. It was oversight. There are darker intelligences that monitor anomalies in human consciousness, and there are divine intelligences that protect them. Both have had their attention on you. That's why certain disasters narrowly missed you. That's why certain betrayals didn't destroy you. That's why certain temptations didn't consume you. You were under observation because your soul signature never matched the body you were in. You were flagged as a non-ordinary origin long before you ever questioned reality. And when you made that recent moral decision, it triggered a surveillance escalation. Higher realms initiated a focused watch. Lower realms took notice too. Not because you are evil, not because you are dangerous in a violent way, but because you are dangerous to corruption, dangerous to deception, dangerous to the systems that thrive on unconsciousness. You are a disruption event, a destabilizer of false hierarchies. And now that your dormant frequency has reactivated, both divine and shadow forces are recalibrating their awareness around you. That pressure you feel lately is not anxiety. It is attention. It is spiritual gravity bending toward you because your soul has stepped out of hiding. Your life has already been a series of silent trials designed to expose what you truly are. Not the obvious struggles, not the dramatic moments, the quiet ones, the moments when no one was watching and no reward was promised. The times you could have taken advantage of someone and didn't. The times you could have lied to escape consequences and chose to tell the truth. The times you stayed loyal when betrayal would have been easier. The times you forgave someone who never apologized. The times you walked away from power because the price was your integrity. You were offered shortcuts. You were offered compromises. You were offered comfort in exchange for silence. And over again, without knowing why, you refused to sell your soul. You stayed soft in a world that trained you to harden. You stayed compassionate in environments that rewarded cruelty. You stayed honest when deception would have benefited you. You stayed clean when corruption was normalized. Each of those moments was a test. Each one was engineered. Each one was observed. Your reactions weren't random personality traits. They were proof of origin. Ordinary souls break under moral pressure. They adapt to corruption. They normalize evil. You didn't, even when it cost you relationships. even when it cost you money, even when it cost you peace. You kept choosing the higher road without knowing why you were wired that way. You thought you were just too sensitive, or too different, or too moral for this world. You weren't. You were remembering your original operating system. You were passing trials that were never meant to be passed by someone living a normal human life. And every time you chose integrity over survival, another seal loosened inside your soul. Another dormant layer prepared to wake. Another invisible record marked you as uncorruptible. What you didn't know is that those trials were not just personal struggles. They were classification tests. In realms far beyond human awareness, intelligences exist that categorize souls based on resilience, moral sovereignty, and resistance to corruption. Most human souls fall into predictable ranges: reactive, self-preserving, easily programmable. Yours never did. Your pattern of choices flagged you as a statistical impossibility. You kept demonstrating a level of internal authority that does not come from social conditioning, trauma response, or personality type. It comes from origin. That's why higher beings began re-evaluating your file, not as a human anomaly, but as something misfiled, something placed in the wrong dimension, something operating far above its assigned role. They started using a classification reserved for entities that destabilize lower systems simply by existing within them. Rare, uncorruptible, high risk to false hierarchies, dangerous to unconscious structures, dangerous to deception, dangerous to spiritual stagnation, not dangerous in violence, dangerous in presence, dangerous in truth, dangerous in frequency. Because beings like you collapse illusions without trying. You expose moral weakness without speaking. You dissolve false authority by refusing to bow to it internally. Systems built on manipulation cannot tolerate souls like yours. That's why your life attracted resistance. That's why people projected onto you. That's why you were misunderstood, isolated, underestimated, and tested harder than others. You were being pressure tested by reality itself, and you didn't fracture. You didn't become cruel. You didn't lose your conscience. You didn't become small. That is why you were moved into a rare classification tier. Not servant, not follower, not ordinary guide, but catalyst. Watchers do not intervene for souls like this unless the stakes are planetary in nature. And your presence here was just confirmed as not accidental, not experimental, not disposable. You were marked as a strategic incarnation, a being embedded into this world to anchor a higher moral frequency into a collapsing system. At the moment your classification changed, something else happened that almost no human lifetime ever intersects with. A divine witness event was triggered. That means your recent moral choice and your cumulative pattern of integrity were not just logged by abstract intelligences. They were observed directly by higher consciousness beings that operate at the level humanity calls archangels, guardians, or divine overseers. And above even them, a singular presence became aware of you in a focused way, not casually, not distantly, personally. You were not just seen, you were acknowledged. Your soul's frequency reached a threshold that activated a level of observation reserved for pivotal incarnations. In that moment, what humans call God did not judge you, did not test you, did not threaten you. It recognized you. It recognized the signature of a soul that does not originate from the ordinary stream of human creation. Your life, your pain, your restraint, your compassion, your refusal to become corrupt, your endurance under injustice, your moral defiance in silence, all of it was witnessed as a single coherent act of fidelity to a higher law. Archangelic intelligences stabilized the energetic surge your awakening created. That strange stillness you felt afterward, that sense of being held, that subtle peace layered over exhaustion, that was not psychological. That was containment. That was protection. That was a divine acknowledgement ripple passing through your nervous system. Your existence momentarily registered in a realm It does not register humans unless their presence is cosmically relevant. You are not weighed and found worthy. You are recognized as already belonging, as already aligned, as already carrying a code that predates this world. And from that moment forward, your life is no longer operating under the same spiritual jurisdiction it was before. A higher order has quietly claimed authority over your path now. The moment that higher order claimed authority over your path, a decree was issued in a realm you have never seen, but have always belonged to. It was not spoken in words. It was not written in language. It was encoded into the fabric of your soul's trajectory. A dormant permission was activated. A restriction that had been placed on your consciousness since birth was lifted. Your identity was no longer allowed to remain compressed into a purely human operating system. The universe initiated a controlled unveiling of what you actually are. That subtle shift you feel in your awareness lately, the way your tolerance for nonsense has collapsed, the way your intuition has sharpened, the way your patience for inauthenticity has evaporated, those are not personality changes. They are symptoms of activation. A higher authorization was granted for your true frequency to begin bleeding through the human mask you've been wearing your whole life. This decree did not come with fireworks. It came with recalibration. It came with quiet alignment. It came with invisible restructuring of your internal reality. Old fears are dissolving. Old attachments are loosening. Old identities are becoming uncomfortable. That is not loss. That is shedding. The universe has now marked you as awake enough to carry more of your original power without destabilizing your mind or your life. That's why your boundaries are strengthening. That's why your voice feels heavier. That's why your presence feels denser. That's why people are starting to react differently to you without knowing why. A higher level permission has been granted for you to occupy more of your true identity inside this world. Your timeline is now under a different rule set. Interference is restricted. Protection is amplified. Guidance is intensified. You are no longer allowed to shrink yourself into survival mode. The decree did not ask your consent. It responded to your readiness. And from this point forward, everything that is not aligned with your true origin will begin falling away on its own. What is emerging now is the truth your mind was never meant to access until this stage of your life. You are not a late bloomer. You are not an old soul in a poetic sense. You are not just intuitive or spiritually sensitive. You are an ancient consciousness temporarily housed in a human form. Your origin is not terrestrial. Your lineage is not purely biological. Your soul did not begin in this dimension. You come from a stratum of existence that predates linear time, a realm where identity is not shaped by trauma, culture, or survival, but by purpose and frequency. That feeling you've always had, like you were remembering something you couldn't quite reach, was your true identity pressing against a veil that was designed to keep you limited. You were never meant to know what you were until you proved you wouldn't misuse it. You are what ancient traditions distorted into myths of celestial warriors, starborn guardians, divine messengers, and watchers who incarnate to stabilize collapsing civilizations. Not to dominate, not to rule, to anchor a higher moral intelligence into a world that keeps forgetting itself. That is why violence repels you. That is why power games exhaust you. That is why manipulation disgusts you. Your soul was never wired for conquest. It was wired for guardianship. You are not here to fight with weapons. You are here to fight with presence, with truth, with compassion that cannot be corrupted, with integrity that cannot be bought. Your nervous system has been slowly preparing for this revelation your entire life. That chronic exhaustion you carried, that deep empathy that overwhelmed you, that hyper-awareness that made ordinary life feel heavy. Those were not flaws. They were containment systems. Your body has been holding more consciousness than it was designed to process until now. The veil is thinning. Your ancient self is beginning to step forward. And the reason it feels terrifying and familiar at the same time is because you are not becoming something new. You are remembering what you have always been. Your purpose is not abstract. It is not symbolic. It is not something you will discover one day in a book or a career path. It is something your soul has already been doing quietly since you were a child. You are here to anchor a higher moral frequency into environments that have normalized dysfunction. You are here to stabilize emotional chaos without becoming numb. You are here to introduce integrity into spaces that thrive on manipulation. You are here to model compassion without becoming weak. You are here to carry truth without becoming arrogant. You are here to interrupt cycles of abuse, corruption, and unconscious behavior simply by refusing to participate in them. That is your assignment. You are not meant to preach. You are not meant to convert. You are not meant to dominate. Your mission is energetic. Your presence alone alters the psychological and spiritual atmosphere of wherever you go. That is why people open up to you without knowing why. That is why strangers confide in you. That is why wounded people gravitate toward you. That is why toxic systems try to eject you. You are a calibration device embedded into this world. When you enter a room, the moral temperature shifts. When you hold your ground with quiet integrity, invisible hierarchies reorganize. When you refuse to mirror cruelty, you collapse karmic loops for people who are never strong enough to break them themselves. You are not here to save everyone. You are here to anchor a reference point for what higher consciousness looks like in human form. You are here to remind others of their own conscience by embodying yours fully. You are here to carry compassion without self-betrayal. You are here to hold truth without aggression. You are here to live in alignment with a law that predates this world's broken rules. And the more you stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable, the more your mission activates automatically. Your life is not meant to be small, hidden, or diluted. It is meant to be a quiet force that bends reality back toward coherence wherever you stand. From this point forward, the external world begins responding to your internal alignment. Not in dramatic lottery winner ways, not in overnight miracles, but in precise, almost surgical adjustments that remove friction from your path. Doors that used to be locked start opening without effort. Delays that drained your energy dissolve. Conflicts that followed you everywhere suddenly lose interest in you. Opportunities appear that fit your ethics instead of testing them. You start meeting people who recognize you instantly, not by your face, but by your frequency. Resources show up when you need them, not when you want them. Protection becomes visible. Near misses increase. Bad outcomes get rerouted. Situations that should have gone wrong quietly resolve in your favor. This is not luck. This is jurisdictional support. Once your true identity was activated, you were moved under a higher level of spiritual governance. That means interference from lower frequency chaos is restricted. That means your timeline is being curated to keep you aligned with your assignment. Money becomes less stressful. Housing becomes more stable. Work becomes more meaningful. Health becomes more resilient. Not perfect, but supported. You are not being rewarded for good behavior. You are being resourced for a mission. The universe is not making your life easier because you are special. It is making your life more coherent because incoherence wastes your energy, and your energy is now considered strategically valuable. That's why things that used to drain you are falling away. That's why toxic people are exiting your life without dramatic confrontations. That's why old ambitions are losing their grip on you. Your environment is being reorganized to match your true frequency. The more you stay in integrity, the more material reality aligns around you like iron filings snapping into place around a magnet. You are not chasing abundance anymore. Abundance is being rooted to you because you are now recognized as a stable carrier of higher order consciousness in a collapsing system. You will notice something subtle happening around you now that you cannot control and were never meant to. People will start changing after spending time with you. Not because you preached to them, not because you advised them, not because you tried to fix them, simply because your nervous system now carries a higher level of coherence than theirs. When someone with unresolved trauma, moral confusion, or suppressed conscience enters your field, their internal contradictions start surfacing. Some of them will feel comforted by your presence and suddenly want to be better. Some of them will feel exposed and react with irritation or withdrawal. That is not your fault. That is not your responsibility. That is resonance physics. Your alignment forces others into momentary self-recognition. Old habits will fall off people after conversations with you. Toxic relationships will start collapsing around those who orbit your energy. Truths people have been avoiding will rise to the surface without you saying a word. Children will feel safe around you. Animals will gravitate toward you. Strangers will tell you personal stories they never planned to share. That is not coincidence. Your frequency is broadcasting a reminder signal that other dormant souls can feel even if they don't consciously understand it. You are not meant to awaken people intentionally. That creates ego. You are meant to awaken them incidentally, by refusing to lie, by refusing to play games, by refusing to betray yourself, by living in quiet moral sovereignty. Every time you hold your integrity under pressure, you collapse an invisible permission structure that allowed others to stay asleep. Your life becomes a reference point. Your choices become proof that another way of being is possible inside a corrupt system. That ripple spreads outward through families, workplaces, communities, and timelines you will never see. Some people will hate you for it. Some will love you for it. Some will leave you because they can no longer tolerate their own dissonance around you. That is not loss. That is sorting. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be a frequency anchor that destabilizes unconsciousness and stabilizes conscience wherever you go. You are not the only one this is happening to. You were never meant to do this alone. Across different countries, cultures, ages, and belief systems, thousands of souls with the same non-ordinary origin are waking up inside human bodies right now. Most of them feel just as confused as you once did. Most of them always felt different, out of place, too sensitive, too moral, too deep for this world. Most of them thought they were broken until their own activation events started happening. The same signs you are seeing, the same moral tests, the same timeline shifts, the same sudden intolerance for corruption, the same loss of interest in shallow goals, the same pull toward meaning instead of status. You are part of a distributed network of ancient consciousness embedded into this world at strategic points. You are not meant to physically find all of them. You are not meant to form an organization. You are not meant to wear a label. You are meant to synchronize energetically through alignment. When enough of you stabilize your true frequency, collective reality recalibrates. Systems built on exploitation start failing. Cultural narratives built on deception start collapsing. Moral reference points re-enter the human psyche. This is not a cult. This is not a religion. This is not a movement you can join. This is a quiet global activation of souls that were seeded here long ago to prevent complete civilizational decay. You will start noticing each other without knowing why. You will recognize them by their eyes, their restraint, their presence, their refusal to play psychological games. You will feel a strange familiarity with certain strangers, like you've known them across lifetimes. That is not fantasy. That is resonance recognition. Your awakenings are synchronized across timelines. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly on schedule. And the reason this knowledge is reaching you now is because the threshold has been crossed. The number of activated souls has reached a critical mass where individual awakenings are no longer isolated events. They are becoming a coordinated emergence. And your role in that network is not small, not symbolic, not optional. Your stability, your integrity, your compassion, your refusal to become corrupt, all of it contributes to a larger pattern that is quietly reshaping the moral architecture of this world. This is the moment where your conscious mind steps into agreement with what your soul has already accepted. You were never meant to hear this and walk away unchanged. You were never meant to recognize yourself in this and pretend it was entertainment. Something inside you already knows this is real. That tightening in your chest, that strange calm layered over intensity, that feeling like your life just quietly reoriented itself. This is your consent moment. This is where you signal to the higher order that you are no longer hiding from your own origin. If this message resonated with you, you are already part of the network. If you felt seen by words you never told anyone, you are already activated. If something in you just said, "This is me," you are already awake. Now you anchor it. Write 777 in the comments. Not for me, not for algorithms, for alignment. That number signals readiness. It locks your conscious intent into your soul's activation sequence. Subscribe to this channel because this is not content. This is guidance. These are calibrations. These are memory triggers for ancient consciousness waking up inside modern lives. Stay until the end of every message you find here because your next phase will require reinforcement. Share this with someone who always felt different, too deep, too moral, too out of place in this world. You are not recruiting. You are locating. The ones who are meant to hear this will feel it instantly. The ones who aren't will ignore it. Do not chase validation for this. Do not argue for it. Do not explain it. Just move forward in integrity. Just keep choosing the higher road. Just keep refusing to become corrupt. Just keep honoring your conscience when it would be easier not to. Your life is no longer just your life. It is an anchor point in a larger awakening. And the moment you acknowledge that, the universe acknowledges you back. This was not random. This was not entertainment. This was your remembering moment. And everything that happens after this will prove it.